Hey guys, welcome to another video. In this one we're going to be talking about one of the less important factors about Assassin's Creed Empire, but one of the factors that should definitely be considered and definitely be worked on, which I have a very solid feeling that it will, because if not, that's fucking stupid. So we're talking about the graphics and visuals. So it's not necessarily important for a great game, because previous games on last gen were good, but even though they had poor graphics maybe, but the graphics at the time were good. But it doesn't necessarily take next gen to run a beautiful game, but the one thing that I want from Assassin's Creed Empire is a beautiful atmosphere. So there are plenty of ways to do this, and I don't mean just from examples of Assassin's Creed games. I mean, you can look at Uncharted or The Witcher 3 or anything like that, like Skyrim, Crysis as well. Crysis is quite beautiful, and other games along those lines all have beautiful graphics. Now, I'm not saying that graphics are the be-all and end-all of gaming, but with next gen and the no longer having the baggage of last gen, which we haven't had for a few years with Assassin's Creed, 2 years, we can now go sort of look ahead. So hopefully Ubisoft will make the games as beautiful as the previous above listed games as well, and previous games within the franchise. For example, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood had brilliant lighting, although it was a bit ridiculously bright on the suit, but the cape and stuff, but it looked beautiful, and other games did too. I mean, the interior of Notre Dame in Assassin's Creed Unity looked pretty nice, and Assassin's Creed Syndicate had some pretty nice graphics as well. However, they are not the pivot of current generation graphics, so they can still go somewhere with them and make the visuals even better. So if you think about Egypt as a place, the first thing that pops into your minds is likely to be the pyramids. Now, the pyramids would require some heavy load to just be on the scene, especially in their full glory and approachable sort of stature, so you can just go up to them and climb them and whatnot. But if they have so much detail on them, that'll be even cooler. Like, you can just, sort of go up, see the detail right up against them, have the beauty of like the dust passing by you as you look at the pyramid in the distance, with the sun glaring on it and the shadows and the reflection and everything just looking glorious. I'm talking proper screenshot, looking almost cinematic feeling here. That'll be really, really, really nice to see. Now, it's not a necessity, but it could very well be something that we can sort of, look at and enjoy looking at and sort of love in a way, because of just how brilliant it might look. Now, this applies to character models as well, so I don't want to see any of that crappy Pierre Balek's hair, because, his hair was awful. And I mean, looking back at it as a green social justice warrior didn't make it any different. His hair was ugly. Like, the hair in Assassin's Creed Unity looked like it was from, I don't know, some really old ass game, and it looked like they were all dolls or something with that hair. I mean, I don't like the hair in Unity, and I thought that the hair looked awful. So the character models need to add into the graphics and visuals here so they don't look ridiculous. I mean, hair dynamics is actually a thing now in gaming, so they can do something with it and hopefully not bugger it up like they did with Unity. And that's not to say that Unity was all graphically bad, because by comparison to other Assassin's Creed games, it was definitely very good looking. However, they focused too much on close-up textures that they didn't need to necessarily do, and the long-range textures failed to render. So when you looked off into the distance, you could see a lot of base designs and stuff that would slowly pop in as you got closer, and it would sort of ruin the immersive feel because the graphics didn't look as great from a distance, and you couldn't really make it out as a legitimate building, and everything was just blurry. And although that the graphics in the up close looked good, they didn't necessarily have to look that good, and they could have focused a little bit more on the visuals and having the day and night cycle actually work, rather than having to set the time of day, which I think would have made it a lot more fun than just having to set the time of day in the options setting because of that. I mean, if you look at other games that, on next gen, a lot of them don't necessarily focus too much on the up close sort of graphics and the textures and whatnot. I mean, they do to the extent that it's considered next gen, but they don't do it to the extent that Unity did it, which is to the extent that the long distance textures actually failed to load. And if they didn't do that so much and the long distance textures would load a little bit more, it would have looked a lot better as a game. And in Syndicate they seemed to focus on that a little bit, and I did notice that I could look further into the distance and see it sort of look a little bit more realistic than just a blur. So for that reason I'm quite satisfied with the textures of Syndicate. However, it's not to say that that is the pivot of this current generation of graphics in gaming either, because to be fair, it's not. It's far from it. I mean, there are other games that are way more visually appeasing, or aesthetically appeasing, shall we say. For example, like I said before, Uncharted and The Witcher. The Witcher looks beautiful, Uncharted looks beautiful, and just to throw in a little bit of last gen as well, Skyrim, when modded, looks awesome. And I mean, if you can mod it to work like that, and I mean sometimes it does look a little bit ridiculous, for example the Real Vision EMB and etc, it makes it look beautiful, but there's a high chance that not even the current gen consoles could run that stuff. But at the same time, if they dumbed it down a little bit and took what they did with that a little bit, then I reckon that they could do something with it. So maybe that'll be quite something to look at, I guess. Now, back to character models. Of course they're going to need detail, but are they going to need as much detail as the clothing had in Unity? No, don't focus on the clothing as much, sort of give the clothing a bit of an ease up. I mean, the clothing in Unity was pretty intense as far as graphics went, so if they eased up on that and focused more on, say, the characters' sort of build, face, etc, make them look as realistic as possible, and then give the clothing some textures afterwards, and make sure that they don't give them so much that they have to remove the distance render so that you can actually render the game and have it able to run on current gen platforms, though I don't think PC would have a problem unless the optimization is as shite as Unity's was. So if they did that, then I think that they would have a pretty beautiful game on their hands. But at the same time, I'd like to see some of the natural visuals that Egypt might have, as well as some of the added visuals from just, you know, how the graphics could look. So the natural visuals being, say, sunlight and how that works, and the dynamic of everything, and rain and how rain works, although Egypt, desert, or slight desert, or whatever, I don't imagine that rain will be the biggest thing ever, but when it would rain, which it probably should do, at least once at some point, the rain needs to look proper, you know, realistic and interesting, and sort of have very dynamic rain as well, so it sort of patters on the river, or it sort of patters on the ground and you sort of see it dropping and whatnot. That would be really cool to see. So, you know, you're gonna have to comment what you think about this stuff, guys, but I'm pretty much done for this video. So if you have any additions you want to make to this video, be sure to go ahead and comment them down below. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead and like, subscribe, share, comment, tell your friends about the channel as well, and I'll see you all in the next one with another video. So thanks, guys. So, yeah.